All right, we are back together again with Proverbs, just eight chapters from the end. It's hard to believe. Um, and I think that we are now, I've got start here for the last verse of chapter 21. Anybody have anything different with your notes? We were coming up right onto chapter 22.
I have start chapter 23, verse 1.
Yeah,
Oh,
me too.
Me too.
Yep.
wow, I'm a whole chapter behind. All right, well, that's fine. Then we have less than that number. That's great. Okay. Who would like to start? Let's see. Let me see if we can get a food eaten. So do 1 through 8. The
I
big
feel like I read that.
well,
We didn't already do 23, did we?
with Proverbs, there's a lot of deja vu in Proverbs. Because of and we're going to have that again in 23. There's a lot of repetition as well. Like there always is. You keep coming back to it.
So, but
I remember doing it.
I traveled in July, so I might have missed a date. So if you all have something different, Sharon, you might be right.
What do you have notes on that, Sharon?
No, I just have a marker here.
What's the marker say?
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh?
It's a bookmark.
It's code, huh?
It clips, yes. It clips in and holds a page real good.
Well, does anybody have any notes in their Bible for where we stopped?
What do you say?
I so often write here in my Bible,
I
but I did
remember
not
that, but I don't know. Could have been somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, I was marked at 23. So
All right.
Well, can't hurt anything.
No.
Okay. All right, let fly.
Hey, I'll read it again.
Okay, let's do it.
While dining with a ruler, pay attention to what is put before you. If you are a big eater, put a knife to your throat. Don't desire all the delicacies, for he might be trying to trick you. Don't wear yourself out trying to get rich. Be wise enough to know when to quit. In the blink of an eye, wealth disappears, for it will sprout wings and fly away like an eagle. Don't eat with people who are stingy. Don't desire their delicacies. They are always thinking about how much it costs. Eat and drink, they say, but they don't mean it. You will throw up what little you've eaten, and your compliments will be wasted. Don't waste your breath on fools, for they will despise the wise advice. Don't cheat your neighbor by moving the ancient boundary markers. Don't take the land of defenseless orphans, for their Redeemer is strong. He himself will bring their charges against you.
All right, hold on right there. Yeah, let's stop right there. So that's an interesting bunch of little couplets that we have.
Yeah.
What do you think about the first one? That's verses 1 through 3. When you sit down with a ruler, put a knife to your throat. What do you think about that? Interesting way. Put a knife to your throat if you are given to gluttony is mine. Yours is a little bit gentler. What did yours say in verse 2?
If you're a big eater, put a knife to your throat.
Yeah.
Don't desire all the delicacies, for he might be trying to trick you.
Yeah.
The ruler.
Yeah. It's I like these several verses that use food and eating as examples because they are really looking at social circumstances and understanding that the people that you're with socially are not necessarily the people you think they are. So it's telling you that you need to keep your mind on yourself, keep you knowing who you are and what you're doing and not get taken in. This really one that tells me about that is verse 6 through what is it, 8. But this other one right here, then 4 through 5, do not wear yourself out and get rich. That's 2 verses about priorities. What is your priority? It's always a good question to ask yourself what your priority is. And I think that a good idea when you do that is to think not specifically about what you're doing. We take for granted what we think our priorities are. And I think that if we do that, we risk relegating them without even knowing it. What I mean by that is God should be our top priority. And for most people, the next priority is family. And what we wind up doing is we get busy doing what we're doing. We have deadlines and things we have to do and places we've got to go. And we're taking care of someone. And that someone is our family. So that's priority. That's the family priority. But that's not necessarily true. You know, how we're doing it and what we're doing is not necessarily staying true to the priority that we're making. We're just kind of throwing it all into the family bucket or all into the God bucket. So it's just really an important practice to say, right now in this moment, what am I doing right now how am I doing it that's putting God first? So I'm doing this thing with this person, but as am I doing it with God first, or in the way that I'm doing it is God first? And if I'm doing it with family, am I putting within the context of that second relationship am I putting my family first? And that may mean, in the circumstances of a family, that may mean stopping helping one person of your family to take care of another one, because the other person in your family is the one that needs the help. You know. Not getting credit for helping out a family member is okay if the priority is recognizing that another member of the family is being hurt. So it's a priority. It's a verses about priority. Do not eat the food of a stingy man. Do not crave his delicacies. You ever go get invited to eat with somebody, and then it seems like they are resentful that you accepted? Like, you're sitting at a table and there's only one something left, one shrimp or one leg, one piece of, and they say, "Oh, you take it, you take it." And you're like, "Oh, okay." And you take it, and then you happen to look up and they got that look in their eye like, "You dog, you took my last lamb chop."
Try mine when you get the last leg.
Yes, it really is. It's just to be aware, gently aware that when people offer you what they offer you, they may be trying, they're not duplicitous. They're trying to be generous and kind, but you'd be sensitive to the fact that maybe what they're trying to do, they can't. And by accepting their offer may be more difficult for them than they can deal with. And if you know that, if you're sensitive to it, you can very gently decline. And this is not just about food, it's about other things. Someone wants to help you, and we've all done this. Someone wants to give you a hand, and they say, "Oh, I'll help," and they no. So you're like, "Oh no, we're fine, we're doing fine, that's great," and you let them go. Usually, it's somebody who can't do that kind of work. But this is a skill that everybody should have. And if you read Paul's letter to the Corinthians, you talk about spiritual gifts. This falls into the gifts of discernment. So we're using, spiritual gifts. I was asked just this week from somebody who said, "So if I have the gift of discernment, what good is it? I mean, if I can discern things, does that mean I know which meat to buy? Does that mean I know which turn to take? Am I discerning how I'm doing during the day?" And I said, actually, in a very strange way, the answer is yes. Discernment that we're talking about is discernment among spiritual discernment. And God is directing our lives spiritually all the time. And that could be turning left instead of turning right, and getting this instead of getting that. We think that that's minutia, but it's not, because God's helping us make the right decisions. That discernment then extends to people, discerning a person's pain, discerning a person's joy, discerning a person's real need on top of whatever it is that they're saying that they need. That's a gift. So this little example here about being careful is just, I look at it as just a call to rely more upon God for discernment and less upon the belly or myself for what I want or what I need. I think I need. Do not move an ancient boundary stone. This is going to come back around again. Or encroach in the field of the fatherless, for the defender is strong and he'll take up a case against you. I've told you about the about King Carter, right? You can look up King Carter from Virginia. He was
Mhm.
the biggest landowner in the colonies. That's why they called him King Carter. He was friends with the royal governors, all of them as they came and went. You all know that when a governor came to Virginia, and in fact any of the colonies, one of the things that the king did, that's George back in England, is he would grant the governor land. He'd give them 2,000 acres or something, so that was theirs, so that they would have, they'd have skin in the game. They could grow stuff on it, or they could leave it. And Carter became friends with all these governors. A lot of them didn't want to be here. They didn't want. It was like, oh, this is like hell. They were here. They didn't want to be here at all. They wanted to go back. And when they left, they didn't come back. They didn't. They didn't come back. Well, Carter would just wait for them to go, and then he'd go move all the boundary stakes. Literally, he would literally go and move the line over and take and record the land as his. That's how he got all his land. So he became this extremely powerful guy that, was running a lot of things and had huge amounts of land and all this resources. But have you ever heard of him? No,
Not really.
no. And his house, have you ever been to it on the historic trips where you go out and you tour people's houses like George Washington and Lee and all these other people?
Mhm.
No, you don't know where he lives. Um, it's um, this one always reminds me of this, that saying, if you think it's important to get more of the thing that you want, but it may not only get you nothing, but it can amount to nothing. So Carter did all this work for his family and for notoriety, and it wound up being nothing. It came back to bite him in the end. It didn't get him a thing. So that's that discernment again. Am I is what I think I'm doing what I'm doing to get ahead, but if I'm not doing in a discerning a godly purpose and intention for it, there's a really good chance that it's going to come back and get me. I'm not going to be happy with the outcome. It's just going to be a bad deal. God will take care of that in the end. All right, that's 12. Who wants to read 13 through son of wise is my father? That's going to change. Let's do 12 through 18.
I will read.
You go.
Apply your heart to instruction and your ears to words of knowledge. Withhold not chastisement from a boy. If you beat him with the rod, he will not die. Beat him with the rod, and you will save him from the netherworld. My son, if your heart be wise, my own heart also will rejoice, and my inmost being will exult when your lips speak what is right. Let not your heart emulate sinners, but be zealous for the fear of the Lord always, for you will surely have a future, and your hope will not be cut off.
Yep. What do you think of those? Anything stand out?
I have a
If you
cookbook
beat him with
that
if you beat him with
says,
a rod, he will not die.
yeah,
Keep that boy. Goodness.
SWAT's not likely to kill him.
No, was it
I have a cookbook for kids, for mothers, right? And it's called One Bite Won't Kill You.
yeah. Spare the rod, spoil the child, right? That's an old no.
I mean, but that's really assuming people are gonna, not
Beat him to death?
overdo it, right? I mean, you can beat someone to death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially a child.
Well, I think that, that's looking at it from the person who's reading Proverbs. So the person who's reading Proverbs is the person who wants to know and learn and do good things. And so they may be saying, well, I want to be good and kind and nice, and so I better not discipline my family. I better not think that that's, I better do it a different way. But I think that really this is saying that there is a necessary process in teaching. And sometimes teaching and guiding is not fun for the one being taught and guided. There's a lot of different ways we can teach. I mean, bosses teach employees by getting fired over your head. or demoted or missing a promotion or a raise. And if you're in that boat where you think you want to do something and your boss doesn't want you to do it, then you're being disciplined in your job and you have to conform to the way it is. And the confirmation to the way that your job is will get you that raise, will get you that promotion. So the teaching and the training of a child here, there, of course, this is back in the day when you didn't spare the rod, right? It was the kid. I can remember I I talked to some parents last year about spankings, and they were like, spankings? Like, good Lord, I can't remember the times I did spankings. I even tried the Spanky. Remember Spanky and the
No.
Little Rascals?
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I was a stupid kid. I tried the Spanky trick, and I knew I was going to get a spanking, a bad one from my mom, and I stuck a book down my pants. So when she hit my butt, she hit a book, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I bet you that one backfired on you.
It backfired.
Oh, man, were you underestimating your mother?
Bad idea. It's not Spanky did not do well for me on that one. If you look back, you don't have to look back, but in 22:6, it says, train your child in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not turn from it. And I had a little note here and I said, really? Because that's not necessarily true. You can train your children the best you can, and then they get to decide what they're going to do. They get to make their own life. And sometimes it's great and it turns out wonderful and you pat yourself on your back. And sometimes it's not, and you can't figure out what the heck happened.
For
It's,
sure.
the at the end of the day, the question is, did you try? Did you make the effort? Were you there and present? I know a lot of parents right now driving this bus and working with us, they're not there. They're relegating the raising of their children to the teachers in the school. And they're just not present. They are probably they're like bystanders. They're spectators. And I wonder how these kids are going to turn out. And I watch several of them over the years, and what I see is um, a listlessness. There's no driving focus. They're just kind of because that's how their parents are. They're just it's okay. It's just and I think that this is back in a day when life was different for these people, but I think the lesson is correct. To give the instruction that is proper and appropriate sometimes is not fun to give. It's not fun to receive, but it's okay because if it's the right thing to do, it's going to be the right thing to do.
What I saw as a pediatrician was I could tell the parents who were going to be in trouble when the kid was 6 months old. Because at 6 months of age, you transition from meeting every squawk to communicating and wanting communication. And the thing is, lie still while I'm changing your diaper. That was it. That's the disciplinary moment. And the parents who couldn't do it, they decided they'd do it at 2. Nah. They were in trouble forever. Every single developmental step, they weren't ready. And it sounds stupid. You teach your kid to hold still when you change the diaper. Yeah, that's it.
Well,
that's the discipline.
One thing that I see is what she's saying is what Carolee is saying is right. The earlier you do, the less you have to do.
Right.
Because like with Robert, Philip, and Amanda, I think we gave them some swats early on, but later all I had to do was give them look crosswise at them.
Right.
And they've told me that that they dreaded the look, and I don't know what look they're talking about.
It's the funniest thing because Steve isn't looking like you think. What he's really thinking is, what do I do with this? And they are terrified. Now, even now.
Yeah,
But,
that's nice.
but so if you establish something like that early on, then you don't have to do extreme measures later.
Then you can just live on the look.
Yep.
Or
So
count to three.
the earlier, yeah, the earlier you do something, the less you have to do later.
Yeah.
But you do have to be there. You have to be involved. You have to be there to see that little thing that you're going, nah, we're not going to do that.
Well, what was that? There was some sitcom where the father said that 90% of being a father is showing up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Boy, isn't that the truth? You watch, read the statistics about single parent homes and the difficulty, especially single parent homes with boys. And it's tragic. The numbers are tragic. They really are. I mean, it's there's a truth in it that there comes an age when boys need fathers. Boys need the men in their life to be there to help, and the statistics bear that out. So it really is. I can see where that comes from.
I heard this thing about drama in prisons,
Mhm.
and out that it's really, really the most effective thing to keep people from coming back to jail. And the guy said, I didn't learn until I acted it out what I was supposed to say back. What Shakespeare or whatever gave me was what the line is. I never heard, and I think that's part of the parenting is you're giving kids the behavior, the line, the what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't figure it out themselves.
When I was a chaplain going to the prisons, I heard men in the services when they got into we had encounter groups where they would talk, and I was amazed at the age and the length of time a lot of these men had been in prison, who were sharing that they didn't really understand what it was like to be a man until they were in prison. That they didn't have a father, and their father that they had was there but wasn't there. And so what they acted out on was a caricature of what they thought it was to be a man. And it's what got them into deeper trouble and deeper trouble and deeper trouble. Didn't include a brain, didn't include any kind of discernment. It just was a caricature and a one-dimensional idea that put them behind bars. And then when they got behind bars, they got into programs and they met people. They had our prisons for the most part are pretty good. We have mentor programs, and they weren't living in an environment where they were free to live out the caricature, and they weren't in an environment where living out that caricature was impressive to the other guys living out the caricature. So when they weren't having to prove themselves to fit this imaginary man image, they could let themselves grow. And these guys in their 50s saying, it took me 20 years to figure out what it's like to be a man. And I realized that I spent the first 25 years of my life just as an angry boy in a man's body, not knowing what I was doing. And then I got in here, and it took me another 10 years to figure out that was stupid. And now I've got it. And we think about parole. A lot of times we think about parole just as a side. When we think, oh, you got this bad, horrible person, a drug dealer, mugged people or whatever, and he's getting parole, and it's horrible. You should lock him up forever and keep him there. There is for a lot of people, there is a real transition and a growth, having that opportunity to learn what their life really is. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we should not take for granted that people that get paroled are really looked at in their parole, and oftentimes, unless it's some lawyer hocus pocus that gets somebody out in 18 months or 2 years or something. They made like life changes because they're jettisoning this false fantasy idea and have really learned. So yeah, learning. If you don't have the person there to teach you, nobody's there brave enough to do it. It can be it, and it does just lead to tragedy, just horrific tragedy for us. Okay, let's see. We're at 18, 19. Who wants to read 19 through? That's the sun. So let's go 19 to 28 or through 28.
I'll go.
Okay.
Listen, my son, and be wise, and keep your heart on the right path. Do not join those who drink too much wine or gorge themselves on meat, for drunkards and gluttons become poor, and drowsiness clothes them in rags. Listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy the truth and do not sell it. Get wisdom, discipline, and understanding. The father of a righteous man has great joy. He who has a wise son delights in him. Where'd you say in?
28.
May your father and mother be glad. May she who gave you birth rejoice. My son, give me your heart and let your eyes keep to my ways. For a prostitute is a deep pit, and a wayward wife is a narrow well. Like a bandit, she lies in wait and multiplies the unfaithful among men.
Okay. What caught you on that one?
The one I noticed was 20, and mine says, do not mix with the wine bibbers.
Wine dippers?
Wine bibbers.
Oh, bibbers. Wow. That's an old word.
Wine, Bibbers.
Yeah.
Imbibe.
That is a strange word.
What's
No,
that?
it's like imbibe. People
Yeah.
Oh,
imbibe.
it is.
Wine bibers.
Yep.
The wine imbibers. I like wine bibbers better.
Yeah.
For me, the last three, 26, 27, and 28 really sounded to me like they were being spoken by God. My son, give me your heart and let your eyes keep to my ways. For the harlot is a deep ditch and the adulteress a narrow pit. Yes, she lies in wait like a robber and increases the faithless among men.
Yeah.
So it was, to me, it really felt like God was asking his children to keep their eyes on him and to not be distracted by other things or taken away by other interests, but to really stay with God.
Yes.
Because
Good.
there's loss and ruin if one does
Yeah.
not.
Yes. Absolutely. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, when a lot of times when we're talking about in Proverbs here, where you have this lines like this, when we had the guys walking down the road being enticed by the loose women, and they're calling to him and asking and getting to come over there. So then we also have these places with the wife, but the idea here is not simply that you have a wife that's doing this, but that you married a wife who's doing this. It's the lack of discernment. It's saying you get what you pay for. So
You didn't think this was going to happen?
right. So don't be enticed by, whatever it is that's enticing you and lose your mind and not see what the reality is. If you keep your mind on what's true and right and good, you won't wind up in this ditch. But if you don't, you will. So it's really backtracking, saying you see this happen to other people, it's because they lost themselves. And don't do that. Don't lose yourself, because the end is going to be the end. Just that's the way it works. All right, 29 through 35. Who's got it?
I'll read it. For whom is everybody's pity and everyone's contempt? For whom is strife reserved? For whom dissatisfaction? For whom blows struck from all sides? For whom the clouded eye? For those who linger over wine too long, ever on the lookout for the well-blended wine. Never relish how wet it is, this wine, how sparkling in the cup, how smooth its flow. In the end, its bite is like a serpent's, its sting as sharp as an adder's. Your eyes will see strange things. Distorted words will come from your heart. You will be like one sleeping in mid-ocean, like one asleep at the masthead. Struck me, have they? But I'm not hurt. Beaten me? I don't feel anything. When shall I wake up? I'll ask for more of it.
Yeah.
Remember the song, My Mama Told Me Not to Come?
Yeah,
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Three Dog
she
Night.
said.
Hey, Dog Night.
Yes.
Yep. That's a great song. And the way they sang it was just outstanding.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think everybody can recognize the idea of being drunk and unable to feel and like that. At the end there, that's the description. But I always, when I read this, I always think of it just as the description of an anodyne. This is just, and I have worked with people like this. You may not have worked with people, you may have met people, but I have worked with unnumbered people who self-medicate, and almost
It's
always with alcohol, but not necessarily.
well,
And they are,
self-medication is the over-the-counter treatment for mental illness.
yeah, yeah. But that and I've known people who just wrecked their lives. And the way that they face the future with the life that's been wrecked is to blunt it with alcohol. And the blunting it keeps them from thinking about what they did or didn't do and how they lost and what their life is that it shouldn't be. And then I think about it when I read this, because I think, if that person is knocked down, that person's been beaten and knocked down, and they're laying in the dirt, and they're not feeling it. And they're just asking for more wine so they can keep on not feeling it.
Mhm.
People, I've spent a lot of time with AA, and they all, men and women both, will tell the same story. And they'll say, I couldn't really begin managing who I was until I stopped drinking, because drinking just kept me down. I didn't realize it, but keeping myself anodized by alcohol perpetuated my problem. It didn't solve it. Blunting my brain to the reality of it not only didn't help, it made it worse. So I read this as telling the son to be responsible. Don't go to some length or some place or some process or something or whatever it is to try to get out from under whatever it is that your life is like. Live it. Take the beating. Know you're getting beaten. Know it enough that you don't get there again and get beaten up again. Learn from it. Don't just allow it to happen. I remember a movie with John Wayne and Dean Martin. And in the movie, Dean Martin was a former sheriff. And John Wayne knew him for years. And by the time he gets into town, he finds that his buddy, who was the former sheriff, is now the biggest drunk in town. And he walks into the saloon, and he gets the local people enjoy slapping him and tripping him and knocking him down and stepping on his hand and spitting on him, because after they do all that, they buy him a drink. And that's their fun. And he doesn't care about getting beaten and all these terrible things happening to him if they'll just give him a drink. So it's just perpetuating. It's a real sad, actually. When I saw that when I was a kid, it was really striking, because they didn't show that kind of self-destruction in movies like that very often. That was way too graphic and too real. And the movie, of course, is John Wayne and the circumstances getting this guy on the wagon and back into his life, and showing that type of running away from your problem and hiding from it is not fixing it. You can feel numb, but that's not doing anything. Being responsible, taking it, understanding it, and taking a control of your life is what's going to make it different. So good recommendations for probably everybody. Don't have to be the son. I think it's talking to each one of us as well. We're a little early. Yep.
Is turning can I have a
Yeah,
question
go ahead.
about
Yeah.
what you just is turning to God part of AA?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, now so
Yeah,
remember
they're
AA,
really weird and cagey about it's not denominational, it's not Christian, it's kind of hard to see it, but yeah.
yep. So AA, was started in an Episcopal church basement in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a very specifically a Christian, an Episcopal church thing. But very quickly they transitioned and said no, they were getting people, um, not Episcopalians, and that were just coming in because they realized that this was something that could probably help them. So if you go there, I mean, you can look at it in the church. There's the banners are in the church from AA that meets downstairs, and this big banner talks about higher power and recognizing that there is a higher power. So that's a theist perspective, and that higher power is the maker and the guide and the uh, protector and companion, the one that you turn to, knowing that you're not alone. I'm not alone. I'm alone in this room. There's nobody here, but I am not alone. And if I truly believe that God is God, I just know that. That's just a fact. So I don't need to go to the bottle because I feel alone. I need to go to God because I feel alone. And remember I said from when I was talking about that video, if I go to God and I go sincerely with my open my heart and my mind, and I let my mind and my spirit really be open and subservient to God's presence, what I receive instead of an anodyne from alcohol and a stupor to get out of my problems, I get that feeling of joy, that overwhelming presence. And when that happens, everything falls into perspective. I realize that I am being destroyed by this thought or this memory or this thing. And when God's present with me, I realize whatever I've had up until this moment with me has been wholly and absolutely inadequate to the task, whatever it is. You can pour yourself into a hobby to try to blunt your mind from something else in your life, and you just consume yourself with the thing you're doing. It doesn't have to be alcohol, it could be anything. But it doesn't fix it. It just covers it over. So this idea of going to a higher power in AA, recognizing that I am I my living out of control because I haven't been strong enough to keep myself in control is not uh, a defeatist prospect. That with God, when I turn to God, the higher power, recognizing that's not an idea, an ephemeral idea, but a real actual being, a real actual process, that I can count on that God for strength and for guidance to hold me and lift me and keep me on track. So yeah, they're very, very pointed.
I think also this weird way of describing God allows people of different denominations and faiths to
Yep.
use God, even though they aren't using the Episcopal prayer book or
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
So I think at first it bothered me, and then I thought, no, wait, that's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, well, everybody has to start somewhere, right? So if you are not a Christian and you recognize that there is a higher power, I think of all the scientists and the videos I've seen and the documentaries I've seen and the things I've read where a scientist realizes, is only into science. There's no God, there's no anything. And then they have come to the real rationalization through their scientific discoveries that there has to be a God. There has to be something higher than the science. The science is pointing toward an unreality. That there's just no answer. And they become theists. They become, creationists that believe that, okay, there is a God. And there are several of them that continue on to become Christians. They don't stop there. Because as a scientist, they begin to delve into the reality of their faith in the same way they delved into their science. So it's that pathway. I don't have any problem with somebody saying it that they believe in a higher power because I'm hopeful and prayerful for them that it is a stepping stone that's moving them along. I mean, they've taken a jump. And a lot of people just to be able to say I believe in a higher power. For them, we don't know their story. You may learn later on in their story that that's huge, because if you recognize, like a higher power, what you're saying is that you recognize that you're not in complete control, because our control is a fiction. But people really think that they're in control. It's not true. If there is a God, it's not true. It can't ever be true.
Well, without believing in a higher power, I would think it would be very, very difficult to overcome alcoholism because you would fall back on alcohol to soothe you and fill that hole.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But
It really, the old phrase that says, like I told you, from the Northern Neck, I took so many people to Stewart Circle. I drove them Northern Neck, a lot of alcoholics on the Northern Neck, drive them all the way to Richmond, Stewart Circle, and then they'd come home. And a month later, I'd be driving them back, or 2 months later, I'd be driving them back. And they'd stay, the first time they stayed for a week or 2 weeks, and the next time they're going to stay for a month. And, 4 months later, I'm driving them back because they keep thinking that they are in control and they can do this and they can get better and they can go home and they're strong now and they can make it. Alcoholics and drug addicts and addicts of any kind cannot get over their addiction until they realize they're out of control.
Mhm.
And all left to themselves, they don't have the power to stop. And they need a higher power. And only that gives them the strength. That's what you say. The person has to hit bottom, and they have to realize it. You can't make them realize it. They have got to do it themselves. And when they hit the bottom, then they'll be able to get back up. But it's never alone. They'll never ever be alone after that, because they know if they continue to climb, they're not alone. And it's a wonderful thing to see. Beautiful thing to see. I've got to find this movie. I've been thinking about this for weeks now. I don't know why. Susan, you may remember this. I don't know if you were there when I saw it. I love Dick Van Dyke.
Mhm.
He was great. I mean,
Went to Dick Van Dyke's childhood home.
Did you? Wow.
Danville, which state? Illinois.
Illinois. I think.
Illinois. Yeah. We think about him
Little
as
town.
doing Mary Poppins and the Dick Van Dyke Show, and of course, the epic Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Absolutely.
That's what he chose for his town mural. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. No, not Chitty.
Yeah.
He chose the chimney
Mary
sweep.
Poppins.
Oh, the chimney sweep.
Yeah, that was he chose.
If you ever saw any interviews with him when he was younger, they're just fun to watch, because what he keeps saying is, they say, well, I remember when oh gosh, I can't remember the guy's name. It was not Carson. It was the other guy was interviewing him and said, what got you? Why, how are you in movies? What do you like it? He just said, because it's joy. I think it brings joy. I think doing what we do brings children joy, but I think it brings adults joy. And it shows people that we can experience that. It can be wonderful. Life can be wonderful. Well, I watched a movie because it was Dick Van Dyke, and I was a kid. I can't remember, I was 12 or 13 or something. And I have to find it. It's a movie about, he was a full-blown alcoholic in this movie. And the end of the movie, he dies.
I saw that.
Did you
I
see
don't
that?
remember the name of it or
Yeah.
anything about it, but I remember it because it was Dick Van Dyke and it was
I-
so atypical.
Yes. It was his foray into a really serious movie, into a serious story.
And
Yeah.
did he not have a problem with alcoholism? Dick
I
Van
don't know.
Dyke?
He may have. It may have. And there's but I think that he really wanted to spotlight that. This, in the end, I remember this. In the end, he died because he continued to believe that he was alone. He would not accept the help. And as long as he was alone, he was incapable of living. When you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, you're not really living anyway. You're on this false life, false trail. And he wouldn't do it. So the movie was about saying, if you don't recognize the fact that you are not alone, and don't recognize the fact that there's help, then there's no other answer. You're going to, one way or the other, it's not, drinking yourself, literally, he drank himself to death. I guess it was like alcohol poisoning.
Mm.
Then you'll die the other way, which is the horrible way of, a drug addiction that devastates your body in one way or another, or alcoholism that does that, and you linger off in your later years in a terrible, awful process that goes on. So I'll have to find it. I looked for it years ago and I couldn't find it. So I'll have to do that now. It's about the fifth time I've thought about that in the last week. So I guess there's something in that. I should look it up.
Is there any correlation between atheists and alcoholics at all?
Sure. Sure. Because, if you have, atheists, well, you may have atheists that depend on a lot of people, so that they have lots of family and familial friends and like that. I mean, not all, there's no one-to-one correspondence, but the likeness of between the two is that they're alone. I mean, there's no spiritual power or life power bigger than just being a human being.
No higher power.
No higher power. Remember, Descartes was an atheist, and Descartes is the wonderful one who stole Kierkegaard's word existentialism, which now is a dirty word because it's taken away. But Kierkegaard used existentialist, or the word, created the word, made the word, to explain the relationship with God. Descartes took it and made it in no God, existentialistic, you're beyond God. And he was a philosopher, and he took that to the logical end. This isn't like a crazy person saying crazy. This is that he took the philosophical argument and he followed it to the very end. As a person who is alone, there is no higher power. There is no moral power. There is no ethical power. To be moral, to be ethical, to be fair, any word, all these words you want to use, is my choice. That's all. So I can choose to be that or not. It's all up to me. It's my reality. I make my reality. And my reality may mean I deny you your reality. And that's okay, because that's my reality. So he goes so far as to say, if I wanted to, I could kill you all. And that's my reality. But I won't kill you all, because in my reality, I recognize the benefit to me of you. That to have you there brings a benefit to me in some way. So I'm going to allow that to happen. You allow that to happen, and that makes a society, a culture. And then we agree to live within the confines of the culture, not because there is an ultimate morality or an ultimate ethical value, but rather there is an attraction to it that serves me. Right? So it's a very isolated, lonely, it's just me. I'm the one, basically I'm God. But the truth is, so are you. Everybody's God. And they get to make their own reality and do what they want to do. And we are just kind of in a pact that I make my reality and I leave you alone in your reality. But philosophically, that it doesn't have to be that way. Philosophically, anybody can wipe out anybody else and have it okay, because that's the privilege of being in your reality. You agree on some morality that says I can't do it. That's your thing. If that makes you happy, then good for you. But it doesn't make me happy. I get to decide what's right and wrong, good and bad, moral and ethical. So
I think Jay found your movie.
Oh, did you?
The comic,
The comic.
Yeah.
written and directed by Carl Reiner.
No kidding.
Imagine that.
Oh my.
Van Dyke portrayed a self-destructive, silent film era comedian who struggles with alcoholism, depression, and his own rampant ego.
Alone.
Mm,
No
ego.
wonder it was never a big hit.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to find it and watch it. It's like one of those movies. And I remember him saying that it was the sad thing about it for him, which this came back to me. I know we have to go. This came back to me with Bill Murray, because Dick Van Dyke did an interview after that movie and said that he was extremely hurt because it wasn't well received. And it wasn't well received because nobody wanted to see Dick Van Dyke not be funny.
Unhappy.
Yeah. Bill Murray did The Razor's Edge.
Yeah.
And he didn't work for 2 years. I think it was 2 years after that. And he went on Carson, and Carson asked him, you know, where you been, what you been doing? And your last movie was The Razor's Edge. And he said, I was so devastated after I made that movie that nobody liked it. But he made that movie because it was such a powerful story for him. And he knew it was a powerful story for everybody. But nobody wanted to see him do it because he wasn't funny. So that's sad. That's really sad.
And nobody really wanted to see Rob Petrie
Yes.
become an alcoholic and die.
That's right.
Right.
Or
That's
the
right.
chimney sweep.
Yep, the chimney sweep. Can't do it.
Yes.
All right, guys. Wonderful, wonderful. So we are in, I'm writing a big here on 44 or 30, 24.
24.
24.
We will start off 24, just six, was it 6 chapters, I think, right? Away
there's
from the end. So we will,
One for them every day of the month.
that's
31.
it. We'll get it done. Absolutely. Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful, joyful night tonight. And I hope that your night this evening brings you closer to God. That you're not alone this night, that you're with your family, your loved ones, your friends, and God. And that will be that codicil that brings us together no matter what. So my best night of the week. I hope it's been yours. God bless you all.
Love you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.